Hey guys, Brett Weiss here. Welcome to another video. If you're new to the channel, please hit that subscribe button. It really helps us out a lot. So it is Christmas season. I'm really excited about that. So I want to talk about Christmas of 1987, which was the first time I ever played Super Mario Brothers. Yes, even though the NES had been out a couple of years, 87 was the first time I played it, and I'll tell you why in just a little bit. So the NES Omnibus is out, my newest book, so I thought it'd be fun to do a Nintendo episode today. And very briefly, just check it out. The NES Omnibus, beautiful book, fully illustrated throughout, full color, screenshots, box art, reviews, nostalgic stories from other authors, from programmers, from developers, from popular YouTubers, on and on and on. Brand new book, every US release from A through L. It is available through me. You can get a signed copy. Just go to brettweisswords.com. Click on where you can order books direct from me, or just in the description of this video, you can find links to buy the book. You can get it on Amazon as well. So, Christmas of 1987, the very first time I played Super Mario Brothers, the first time I played the NES. Now the reason I hadn't played the NES yet, I was fully aware of it, and I was definitely a hardcore gamer and collector for many years up to this point. But it was 1987. I was 20 years old at this time. I had been playing, I had the 2600, Odyssey 2, Intellivision, ColecoVision, all that great stuff. Still keeping plenty busy with those systems and those games. I didn't see a reason to upgrade immediately. I figured I'd get an NES eventually. But I didn't see a reason to upgrade right away. I was still plenty busy, and I was doing a lot of other stuff. So in 87, I was 20, so instead of going to my friends' houses to play video games and stuff like that when I was younger, we were going out, we were partying, clubbing, going out to restaurants and bars and stuff, and just doing other things. You know, we were adults, basically, and just doing adult-type things, so we weren't going over to each other's houses playing video games, so I didn't go to anyone's house to play the NES, although, like I said, I was still gaming a lot at home with my older systems. Now, 87, I was driving a bobtail truck. I was delivering copier machines in this truck. Now, what kind of job was that for me? I mean, being a creative guy, being into comics and art and all this stuff and writing, it was a job. You know, you got to pay the bills, you got to have money. But in the afternoons, when we'd finish up early, about 2 or 3 o'clock, we could go to comic book stores, we could go shoot pool, we could play basketball, the occasional retro gaming store. Retro gaming stores were very few and far between at the time. You know, hardly any, there were barely any stores that sold, any kind of, reasonable stock of old games. It just wasn't a thing, hardly in 87. Most older game systems were considered junk at that point. But anyway, just to give you an idea sort of what I was doing at the time, I was still living at home. My brother, actually, in Christmas of 87, got me an NES for Christmas, the control deck that came with Super Mario Brothers. This is a parent-level gift, people, and my older brother got me an NES for that Christmas. Blew me away. I was completely shocked, and it was it's a brand new NES in the box with Super Mario Brothers, 2 controllers, the works, and I could not believe it. I was like, wow, thank you so much. This is great. Like I said, I wasn't immediately planning on, I was in no hurry to get any NES when it came out because I was busy with other consoles. But man, I waited too long. I should have got one right away because it was so great, so awesome, so excited about it. And now my brother, he was a gamer, more sort of, in the arcades. I mean, and my brother and I, we discovered Pong on for homes back in 75. My cousin got one for Christmas, and we couldn't believe you could play video games in your house. Before that, we had played Pong in the arcades and Midway's Gunfight and electromechanical games. And then a little later on, in the late 70s and early 80s, we'd go to Malibu Grand Prix, we'd go to Land of Oz, and frequently. So my brother was an arcade gamer. Not much of a console gamer, but he loved the arcades. We went a lot. Every Sunday night, Malibu Grand Prix, awesome. And my brother is the very best Frogger player to this day that I've ever seen back in the day. He could move that frog at lightning speed up into the bays. Awesome, it was incredible. So we do have a gaming background, but he never got into Atari or ColecoVision or any of that stuff. He played ColecoVision with me just a little bit, but not too much. But for whatever reason, just brotherly love maybe, he got me an NES, and that was just amazing, and it was such a great present, and I could not believe Super Mario Brothers. Holy cow. And It was just a revelation. It was different than any game that came before it. I mean, sure, there were some baby steps toward the platformer genre, stuff like Pitfall, obviously, Smurf, Rescue in Gargamel's Castle for the ColecoVision, even Cabbage Patch Kids for the ColecoVision, which had Pitfall elements. These were platformers, but there was nothing like Super Mario Brothers when it came out. The adventure, the secrets, the surprises, the expansive worlds. I remember hooking it up, firing it up for the first time, and I could not believe this controller. So awesome. Previous controllers had shooting buttons on the side and it would make your thumbs tired. So perfect with 2 buttons, unlike the 2600 that just had 1 action button, or 1 fire button if you will. This one had 2, which was great. Pause right there on the controller, which was awesome, which the Atari 5200 had, but that that system had problematic joysticks. Every controller before the NES, which I've mentioned before, had certain problems. Like the 2600 joystick was a little stiff, the ColecoVision was a little stubby, and the Intellivision control disc was kind of weird. Yeah, I like all these because I'm a hardcore retro gamer, but the NES was an evolutionary leap and such a better controller than anything that came before it. Up, down, right, left, and diagonal, it just works so perfectly. Yeah, these were inspired by the Game & Watch handhelds, but I'd never played those at the time. So I loved this controller. It gave you such perfect control over your character. It works so well. So that was a big evolutionary leap, and just the game itself was amazing. I remember walking up to that first enemy, the Goomba, and I didn't read the instruction manual first, of course, and I think I just ran right into him. I wasn't really sure what I was supposed to do. I was just kind of experimenting with the buttons and everything, and you didn't have a, you could just jump on him, but I don't know if I knew that at the time. So I just messed with it, but over the next 2 or 3 days, I got really good at it, and I beat the game within 2 or 3 days because I loved it so much and played it so much. It was so great. Just that you could go down these pipes, discovering that was an amazing, that you could warp to future worlds, that just had so many different enemies. It was so colorful, so cartoon-like, and your character, Mario, just had so much freedom of movement. So awesome. The Piranha Plant reminded me of Little Shop of Horrors, and I felt like I was playing sort of a video game version of Alice in Wonderland. I remember reading that book and just being blown away by it, when I was a kid, and just that sense of adventure and wonder and mystery and just frankly just surreal, almost like some kind of acid trip or something. It was amazing with the mushrooms and all. But yeah, it was a very Alice in Wonderland experience, but I was interacting with it instead of just instead of just looking at it or reading it or whatever. It was an amazing game. It blew me away, and it inspired me to, I've written about the NES for Antique Week. I've written 3 books that are heavily focused on the NES, or actually 4 if you include the NES Omnibus Volume 2, which will be out in winter of 2021, which I finished reading. It's just at the publisher, in the design stages. And so that was just unbelievable. So over the next couple of years, I added a ton of NES titles to my collection, like Rygar, just a great action game and with adventure elements. Akari Warriors, one of those great run and gun games that my brother-in-law played. We actually got stuck in this game. We enjoyed it, but it was definitely flawed. And I'll do a video on that at some point where we were a couple hours into the game and got stuck. Trojan, a cool hack and slash game with an unfortunate title. Hogan's Alley, Duck Hunt, great light gun games. Ghosts and Goblins, brutally difficult, but so great. I think I got to level 6 and never quite beat it, but it was such a great horror game with so many great weapons and everything. I loved it. Castlevania, one of my favorite games of all time to this day. Another great horror game. Simon Belmont had so many great weapons at his disposal. Just an awesome game. Super Mario Brothers 2, holy cow. I had no idea about Doki Doki Panic or anything like that at the time. I just thought, wow, this is a completely different type of Super Mario Brothers, and I actually beat that game without, later, you could play the game with with saves and everything, but I beat it because I just loved playing it so much. Awesome game. Now, I probably would have gotten an NES eventually. I'm sure I would have in 88, 89, maybe 90. In 89, the NES was just everywhere. It was on the TV, talk radio. It was just a ubiquitous presence. With Super Mario Brothers 3, The Wizard in theaters, and all that stuff, 1990, NES was just everywhere. Now, the Genesis was released in 89. The Super Nintendo in 91, so those would start to phase out the NES. But man, in 88, 89, 90, 91, holy cow. Just the NES was just on top of the world, just an amazing console. and I absolutely loved it. And thank you, Scott, my brother, for getting me an NES in '87. It really changed my view of gaming, and it changed my life, really, because, you know, the NES changed gaming in general, Super Mario Brothers in particular. It just, I mean, so many games were inspired by Super Mario Brothers directly and, you know, peripherally. Just so many games with, you know, the way the worlds are divided up, the adventure elements, the secrets, the surprises, the cartoon graphics, and on and on and on. Super Mario Brothers just changed the landscape of gaming, and it changed, you know, my relationship with games, and just got me even more into gaming than I already was. So props to my brother, to the NES, to Super Mario Brothers, and Merry Christmas to you guys. Let me know in the comments, when did you first play Super Mario Brothers? What was your first experience with the NES? I would love to hear your stories, and also just getting an NES or certain NES games for Christmas. I'd love to hear about it. Once again, the NES Omnibus is available through my website, brettweisswords.com. I will post links in the description where you can buy a signed copy of this book, or you can just hop on Amazon and get it. Thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, and all that good stuff, and I will see you guys in another video.